Hello, my name is Galina Kurdina. I live in Toronto, Ontario. I am a victim of psychotronic mind control attacks upon me. Uh, Today I would like to talk to you about my visit to Dr. John Molot, who worked in environmental health clinic in Women's College Hospital in Toronto. If you do not know, address of this women's college is 77 Granville Street, Toronto. I found Dr. John Molot, as I can remember, on the internet, and asked my other doctors to refer to him, and I saw him, as I can remember, in January 2011. There was conversation, long conversation. I brought to him report from Dr. Steninger. I brought to him several reports from psychotherapists and psychologists in the United States of America. And after that, I waited for a very long time, waited and waited, and after that, I had to, in 2012, I had to request a report from Dr. John Molot. He didn't call me, he didn't follow up, nothing like that. Okay, so on the 9th of as I can remember, 9th of May 2012, I received, yes, 2012, I received a copy of his report. I would like to read you excerpts from this report dated February the 7th, 2011. Now, first of all, I want to say that he made many mistakes in his report, and one of this mistake is a wrong date of birth. He put 1963, April the 27th, instead of my real date of birth, the 25th of July, 1959. Okay, so I would like to read some excerpts. Galina Kurdina is a 51-year-old woman seen at your request because of sensations which she describes as pressure from above on her head, chest and abdomen, hypnotic states, voices and noises in my head, visual images, triggered actions, difficulties with concentration, loss of memory and sleep deprivation since December 2005. Your consultation request notes rosacea, sorry, that I really had rosacea for a short period of time, fatigue, dizziness, difficulty concentrating, forgetfulness, and sleep problems. Ms. Kurdina associates the onset of her symptoms with an examination performed in December 2005, after which she started experiencing the above-mentioned symptoms as well as manipulation of will and emotions. That triggered actions are described as involuntary movements of her limbs, but not only just movements of my limbs, much more than this. These symptoms occur constantly, and she attributes them to electromagnetic fields. She was referred for a psychiatric opinion on 2 occasions and was told she had psychotic disorder not otherwise specified and a delusional disorder. Yes, I was referred I'm commenting. I was referred to psychiatrists in Toronto by Toronto police. They forced me to go there and get medical opinion of Canadian psychiatrists. Okay, let's continue with the report of Dr. Molot. Since then, she has seen a toxicologist in the United States, Dr. Hildegarde Steninger, who has supported Ms. Kurdina's opinion that she doesn't have a psychiatric illness and that her explanation of electromagnetic field triggers is valid. Furthermore, Dr. Steninger states in her report that there is evidence that her symptoms are being triggered by electromagnetic field radio frequency transmissions, and that she may have had biomaterials or microchips implanted in her during this examination that happened at the end of December 2005. The rest of her functional inquiry is essentially negative. The environmental exposure history is not significant, family history is not significant, past medical history is not significant, physical examination, he didn't perform this examination. So let's proceed to his assessment, his conclusion. Sensitivity to electromagnetic fields is a controversial area for which there is no objective evidence but is described by many patients. Characteristic of this disorder is stimulation of non-specific neurological symptoms associated with particular EMF exposures, and in this case, the symptoms are constant. Ms. Kurdina's explanation is that there is nowhere that she can go to escape these stimulations because they can originate from satellites. She feels that these are being controlled by the Russian government. Okay, I will comment on this later. Once again, Dr. Molot writes, she feels that these are being controlled by the Russian government. She is a Russian immigrant, and her explanation for their interest in her is that she is an immigrant without any defense. She also informed me that she obtained some technology to measure EMFs in her home, and they are quite high, but she doesn't feel any better when she leaves. Clearly, Ms. Kurdina is suffering from a delusional disorder. Unfortunately, these patients are difficult to treat because of their refusal to accept the diagnosis. We have occasionally seen other patients referred to this clinic because of a false belief that an environmental factor is playing a significant role in their health, and there isn't much that we have to offer except to not be supportive of the false belief system. These patients do tend to respond strongly but negatively to a perceived lack of support. She also brought with her reports from 2 psychologists in the United States, he means, who diagnosed her with post-traumatic stress disorder secondary to be victimized by directed energy weapons. And the only thing that I offered to Ms. Kurdina was an attempt to look at the references cited in Dr. Steninger's report, which were not accessible. I have nothing further to offer. The treatment recommendation is antipsychotic medications, which Ms. Kurdina doesn't want to consider. That's it. Okay, so I received this report with full of misrepresentation and mistakes on the 9th of May 2012, more than 1 year after I saw him, and he prepared this report, and I typed and sent, as I can remember, I mailed it, and after that I came in person with this state of disagreement. I prepared a state of disagreement with this report and mailed it to Women's Hospital. I would like to read you my statement of disagreement. To Dr Molot, Environmental Health Clinic, Toronto, and blah blah blah. Statement of disagreement. I have received a copy of your report from February the 7th, 2011, today, on the 9th of May 2012. I disagree with your conclusion, consider it as wrong, and recommended treatment as dangerous. You didn't do any objective physical examinations and tests. You remember that he mentioned no physical examinations, refused to explore the real cause of my symptoms, influence of directed energy, electromagnetic psychotronic mind control weapons, and formed a wrong psychiatric diagnosis for a healthy person who was involved in horrendous, fascist mind control experiments without any informed consent. Your report contains factual errors. I have never told you that the mind control attacks upon me were controlled by Russian government. It was his own invention. I told you that investigation of these crimes was under jurisdiction of RCMP in Canada. I told you that I had contacted RCMP, the police, security intelligence agencies, courts, and other government institutions over and over again, but had my appeals for assistance and protection completely ignored and suppressed. The government doing nothing in this situation is a form of sanctioning these illegal and immoral mind control experiments on innocent and defenseless people. That is why I told you that the Canadian government is responsible for these crimes. I told him that Canadian government most likely carried out these experiments but was responsible for these crimes for sure. Okay, let's continue. It is possible that the Canadian government let foreign intelligence services experiment on innocent civilian people in Canada. For example, MK-Ultra experiments conducted by Dr. Cameron in Montreal. As you can remember, as you know, these experiments were done for CIA. Let's continue. It is possible that the Canadian authorities let Russian or other foreign secret services experiment on our family right now, but I do not have any proofs of it and cannot say that I am controlled by Russian government. I told you that I reported about this crime to Police Division number 33 and talked to police officers Castle and Nicholas on the 16th of December 2007. I said to them, name of suspect Li Qian, Chinese or maybe Canadian citizen nowadays of Chinese origin, but they refused to investigate. Police officer Castle asked me twice, what do you think? What government affects you? Maybe Russian? I answered them that I strongly believed it was the Canadian government. At least it sanctioned all these attacks, psychotronic attacks, because police, RCMP, and other government structures had been aware of these experiments since January 2006, but didn't start investigation despite the fact that the experimenters lived and visited the house at 73 Mossbrook Crescent, Scarborough, where I rented an apartment, and I heard their Russian speech, saw their faces, and reported it to the police with the names of the suspects. The second, I have never told you that these mind control effects were an environmental factor, a result of sensitivity to environmental electromagnetic fields. I am sure that these specific electromagnetic effects upon me are directed energy attacks by means of psychotronic mind control weapons. This is not something natural, something from environment. No, these attacks are, of course, artificial. These are artifacts made by psychotronic mind control pulsed radio frequency weapons. Okay, let's continue. Third, I brought you reports from three psychologists in the United States of America that I do not have any psychotic disorders, but am victim of directed energy weapons and developed post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of mind control attacks. I offered you to bring references to Dr. Stenninger's report that states that I am a victim of specific electromagnetic effects and have nanomaterials in my system that I used as chips to send signals to my mind and body, but you refused. In your report, you complained that these references were not accessible. I provide to you references to this first report and addendum to the second report of Dr. Stenninger with the statement of disagreement. So he requested, and I offered him. He refused. After that, offered him to provide what he needed. He refused. After that, he complained in his report dated the 7th of February 2011 that he didn't have these references. So I sent these references, what he needed, with this statement of disagreement. So let's continue with my statement. Why do you think that my symptoms are a result of psychiatric disease but not a result of electromagnetic mind control attacks? Do you have any criteria how to differentiate psychotronic effects and psychiatric disease? Can you describe this criteria? You must attach the statement of disagreement with your diagnosis as a part of records that you hold of my personal health information and disclose it whenever you disclose information to which the statement relates. Date the 9th of May 2012 and my name. Okay, so several weeks ago I decided to order records from my file in this clinic. Today I have received these records, and as you can guess, of course, these records do not contain my statement of disagreement, and of course they do not contain these references that Dr. John Molot longed to have, and I sent them to him. Nothing like that. So I have emailed my statement of disagreement with my demand to keep it in my records once again. I hope that they will do it, but I am not sure. So I reserve my right to double check whether they really put this statement of disagreement in my file. So please keep in mind, if you receive such medical records which contain obvious errors like my wrong date of birth or some inventions, misrepresentation, misinterpretation, some lies, you can provide doctors with your statement of disagreement. However, from time to time, you must double check whether this statement is still in your file, because as you can see, they silently, of course intentionally, delete your statements of disagreement. Of course, as you can see from his report, that I reported to Dr. John Molot in January 2011 practically all symptoms of so-called Havana syndrome. You know, and his conclusion was that these weapons do not exist, that my report was, of course, a delusion, and I was psychotic. It happened in 2011. However, when it happened to Canadian diplomats in Havana in China, you know, all of a sudden they admitted existence of these weapons. Canadian diplomats were sane and reports were true. So you understand perfectly well when this is done to Canadian government workers. Of course, Russians are bad without any proofs. They are bad, Chinese are bad, Cubans are bad, and so on. But when Canadian government carries out even such and even worse experiments, this is absolutely different thing. You know, they fight for peace. Canadian government fights for human rights. They fight for advanced democracy. So you feel the difference, okay? Thank you very much for support. All the best. Bye.